Hello everyone, this is Cookies. I've got turn 93 of Abysia. Just as a reminder, because it was kind of in the middle of the episode, a couple of episodes ago, but the game did get called. However, I believe this is the last turn where we're just kind of smashing armies together. And then people started dropping like flies. However, Kirby and I'll be taking over for Hanam. And then Drake Lord, who's subbed in recently, and a couple of other, like one or two other players are gonna just kind of move armies around and whatnot. And the Baratos team has a fun surprise in store for us. So there's gonna be a little bit of play, but not very much. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to quickly kind of go through some of the big fun battles where they happen. And then hopefully I'll remember to look at the graphs. And we should be able to close this out. It might take like 2 episodes to close out, or I might just try to do like an hour-long thing and we can close it out. But I do think there's a couple more fun battles. All right. So in terms of, I don't know. I was enjoying the game, so I was still doing some scaling stuff. But all right. In terms of this, let's say, so we got some illusions running into harpies. And then some ether warriors come in and finish them off. All right. So we have an antlered shaman. Now, the prior one had bajillions of artifacts. This guy is just a big nature mage. So I don't know if he got lost or left behind, but yeah. But I guess he donated gear. And we can see here that, there's still a fair number of players launching attacks, which is pretty fun. So we got some vampire lords raiding out. We got a big Pangaea army. Big Vanheim army. I think this is the last turn the Vanheim and Marverni play. So I was hoping to get one more really big battle out of them, but I don't think they did it. Alright, so we've got this battle between Ulm and Kailasa. But this Kailasa Doomstack just has a lot more mage support. I mean, that said, he does get off some nice spells. We've got a big protection spell, one of the 9s, and I don't see an MR spell though, but yeah. Let's see, get the colored squares in the round. That said, these Ngiri hit like trucks now because they've got the enlarged buff at least. They don't have. I don't think we ever broke Kailasa into blood, so he couldn't do the rush of strength. So he would have had to just do annoying point buffing. Alright. So here we see the Kailasa army doing what it does. Then we've got the Idol of Sorcery hopping in. So we can see what maybe it's casting. It's got a lot of gems of everything. What is this? Oh, it's got the trapped dreams of a Haruver. A little bit interesting that this got out time stop for like 5 monkeys. All right. Let's see if we find any interesting raids. Okay, so we've got the Hinnom army that we made. It went ahead and rolled out. Classic late game army where the most, I guess, like applied buffs ends up winning. That was just a little Lunkin raiding group. All right. We have a few ancient presences roll through. I get hit by some random stuff. Oh, we actually got a gold event. All right. So then, there we go. So what we're thinking now that, a lot of players have dropped, is we're close enough that maybe Kirby could just claim this, and maybe the Hinnom army can run over here and try to get this. And if we do that, then, we'll have like a formal into the game for us, which would be kind of fun. I do think it's kind of funny that Kirby raided in here and the Magic Phase to Ford in here. And he's got some fun plans for that. We've got our little Abyssian army moving out. Here's the script for that. So it's got some spells, but it's more like a high commitment raid than like a proper late game army. But I thought it would be fun to get in there. So we're just gonna roll it into these 1,000 pan troops. Although there may be some chance that they move or they get attacked by Kailasa, so we'll see what happens. I'm just looking for the quickest battle I can there. And yeah, I think that's good for turn 93. We can take a quick look at the graphs here, because this is when everyone, or many people, started dropping off. So we've got provinces here. We got forts, the rapidly increasing fort pile for Kailasa. Income, gem income, blood income. I mean, we're holding our own fairly well on the blood income. Research. We've got Dominion, army size, where again, I think we're holding our own pretty well. Marverni is the largest, and I think they grow the fastest. And Lanka is the second largest. Probably a lot of blood hunt patrolling, so different like forms of patrol chaff. But the next 3 spots in the top 5 are all my team. So I think we did pretty well keeping up on the army graphs. Although a lot of mine is just patrol chaff. But Hinnom and Kailasa keeping up, I think, kind of demonstrated how we were able to push a bit with just 2 players. Is like that was kind of showing the impact of all the sling that I was sending them, and then also that just playing with 2 very good players in Kirby and then False God and Zan for Hinnom. So always had 2 good players on the team, which felt good. And then yeah, so and then we've got the most ascension points at this point, so this is maybe like a decent formal end to it. That said, we did play out a few more turns, so let's go ahead and hop into turn 94. Okay, so I've got turn 94 pulled up. We've got a little bit more site searching, not that it matters. Anything interesting? I suppose we've got some thugs running around. So we've got, let me see. Got this guy. Okay, he's not really thugged out. And then we've got a Kanara. Oh, this is probably stolen by a Dryad. I think. I don't know, because it's all commanderized. It's got the flying ship. It's got a Horn of Storms. It's got a Gate Cleaver. A lot of very nice kit on this one. We got Stondis. Got a small TNT Flames from the Sky event. So killed a fair amount of stuff there. Alright. We'll lose a Warlock, and then we go ahead and try to fight this Pan army, but no one's home. I guess this Kanara is home. So you can kind of see the scripting that we're running. I believe it's all supported by temporary gem gens, so we're just going to keep it moving. Let's see. Any fun battles? Alright, so it looks like we have a big Pan Kailasa fight, which is great. Glad we got to get this in. Would have been a shame to not get it. There was a little bit of one more turn syndrome from a few of the players who still had large armies, so I think this was Pan clocking one more, or maybe someone from his team. Alright, so we've got all these Minotaurs, these White Centaur. I mean, look at these huge blocks of White Centaur, and then a big line back here. So a ton of Sacreds. A lot of big mages in this fight. We've got the Kailasa army. We've seen that before. Here's all the gear and kit on everyone. So we've got golems running around. We've got stolen Ifrit Sultans. We've got Kanara playing both sides, I guess. Although these two are both Kailasa. I was just referring to the other one. And then we've got Belphegor. We have a whole mess of pans, and they've got all sorts of gear on them. All sorts of boosters, temporary gem gens. We've got artifact armors on some of them. We've got this Rudra, who's got Armor of the Dawn. And we've got a bunch more Kailasa mages. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff rolling around. A lot of stuff has died. So we've got random little kits on a bunch of yogis. You'd probably not put a gate cleaver on a yogi, for instance, so I think they were just kind of picking stuff up as they went. We're not really at the stage of the game where you micro all that gear off, considering people have called it. But yeah, let's go ahead and enjoy the big battle and see how it goes. Oh, here we see army of rats, I think. Or maybe that was done to the Olmish army. So, I mean, this was a really fun battle. So, what was it, this one? So here's the losses from the Pan side. Certainly not lossless, despite them winning. 4 out of 20 Pans. 15 or 17 of their Centaur mages. Almost 188 white Centaur. 300 regular Centaur. We lose 15 yogis. Mostly replaceable mages, honestly. There's a fair number of sacreds, 64 Maroots. These sacreds, Kailasa can print pretty easily, 99 in Giri. So, do end up taking the L here. Let's go ahead and take a look at maybe some of the buffs that were put on the troops. So I'll probably go to maybe like round 8. Alright, so let's take a look at stuff. We don't have a strength buff, and that's probably pretty good on these guys. Because I think it scales directly with their strength, so that might have been good to add. Do have some quickness buffs, though. So we got quickening. And then do get anti-magic off. We have a level 9 protection spell. Looking at the Centaur. Got something like Army Regen, Fire Fend, Serpent's Blessing. Some weapons of sharpness. They've also got some starving issues, but if you berserk, that doesn't really matter. They've got their Spirit Sight Bless. And then if we... I don't know that I want to go through all the mages, but maybe I can click on some of the ones that had gear. Got Web, Ice Strike. Fanaticism. And some of these, I think these logs really do bug out pretty badly. I don't know what causes them to like bug out, but like we know this Fairy Queen casted something, but we don't get to see what. Yeah, like it just starts here. I guess if the log goes too long, it starts deleting from the top. So maybe we could try just going to like round 5, and we can miss some of the... We'll end up missing some of the later parts of the script, but it'll give us a better idea. Alright, let's see if this is fast enough. Alright, Gift of Furies. Quickening, 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 quickening. Divine Blessing, Wailing Winds, Foul Vapors, Strength of Gaia. Let's see. Oh, wait, that's, I guess into Swarm. Got some Ephemeral Blast, Anti-Magic, Fire Fend, Power of the Spheres. I guess this guy's hanging out doing Petrify. Although he's got all these temporary gems, so he could do more. Maybe it just wasn't needed, or it was redundant scripting to make sure a buff went off. Got Army of Giants, Steel Slice, Serpent's Blessing, Growing Fury, Legions of Steel, Steel Slice. Each one of these pans doing something. Army Region, Serpent's Blessing, Howl, Breath of the Dragon, Ground Army, Steel Slice. Some of these buffs you might cast a couple of times, particularly if you're planning on having a lot of summons coming out. Got Bloodletting, Army of Rats. Okay, so we did get an Army of Rats cast. That's a really fun 9. You don't see it very often. Blood Rain, Steel Slice. Trying to get as many of his Centaur as possible as Steel Slice Warriors. We got Relief. Or Steel Slice. Dreamwild Legion from Kailasa. Army of Bronze. Our Shatter Army. That's pretty fun. We're a Steel Slice. Ground Army. The ability to recruit High Earth nationally is so strong in late game. Alright, we got Army of Lead. I think that's a second Army of Lead. It was Serenity. I don't think I've seen this one before. Bone Melter. That's a fun one. So, yeah, pretty fun battle. Actually, remarkably even for a late game battle. It was an absolute bloodbath. So that was really fun to see in terms of people being able to use their armies. And then glad we got that one in. That was a really fun one. And then let's see. All right, so we got Hinom rolling onto a throne here, or taking a throne. So this Lankan army is pretty cool. We got some of these Danavas, Forearm Demon Titans. So they're size 9. Unholy Sword with the Hold Sacred. Unholy Spear with a similar effect. And an Unholy Axe. So they've got 3 weapon attacks, very high attack, very high damage. They've got a Fear effect. Got a Golem back here. We've got some mages back here. That said, this is a Hinom Doom stack, so it's going to be difficult. I will say the only thing I did not script was Soaring Army. So the mill cart comes in, and it's just to break through the gate and doesn't die to the Danavas. We actually steal one, which is pretty cool. No, we steal a couple of them. Let's see, so that was here. Oh, that could be a replay bug. Goodness, so many replay bugs recently. And we haven't had the patch come out yet. So there was no reason for this replay bug, but I guess it happened. Alright. So we don't get the cool Danavas, but we do end up wiping the army. And you can see how powerful late game magic is. Alright. And I think that's probably it for this turn. So we're going to go ahead and take our army and try to roll it onto Standis. I'm looking at potentially picking a fight with these ancient presences, but also just trying to support the Kailasa army a little bit, because I know it's thinking about going on Farseer, because we do have another big Kailasa army. And then I forget if it's this turn or next turn, but I'll start picking up the Hinnom turns, or Hinnom turns again, and I'll start doing the march towards this Mictlan throne. Let's go ahead and jump into turn 95, because from here on, like, players really are dropping like flies, so everything's going to kind of slow down a little bit, but it should... we should still get a couple more interesting battles, I think, like these presences. So let me hop into turn 95. Okay, so I've got turn 95 pulled up, and we can see the very long-term plan by the Baratos team to Astral Disruption all of our globals finally comes to fruition. So all of our globals are knocked out. In some ways, I wish they hadn't called it, or led the call to call it, because this would have been a really interesting development. But I'm not sure if it would have changed anything. We had built up so much advantage. Kailasa, I think, had something like 700 pearls in the bank, so you could have just put Arcane Decree back up, and then we could have put our globals back up. So I don't know that it would have changed anything, but it could have been interesting. And this fucking asshole shows up pretty much after the game's over. He's just like, hey, I just wanted to help out. And this guy has a really important cross path if you don't want to empower. I think there's maybe some random. No, we can't get the random there. So the Fire Death cross path is kind of important for Abysia, because that's how you get one of your national summons, which are your spectral guys. And we had gone over 90 turns without getting him. So I finally gave up, and I just empowered a vampire to be able to get these guys. Let's see. I think he was over here. And so I finally empowered a guy, and then the hero shows up. It's like classic Dominions. But, yeah, so let's go ahead and see if there were any interesting battles this turn. I think this turn was particularly slow. And then Kirby and I kind of rally each other to go ahead and claim the thrones. So I'll go ahead and hop into turn 96. All right, so I got turn 96 here. I go since I'm playing Hinnom, I go ahead and steal some of his gold. Just to be able to buy stuff for Abysia that I'd wanted to buy for a long time, like new forts. Go ahead and Flames from the Sky some stuff. Through Hinnom, not through Abysia. And the Hinnom army goes on the march again. Okay. So I think that's pretty good for this one. So I go ahead and put in the attack order here, and then the Hinnom army here is going to go ahead and march here. And I'm going to start rolling out the raiding groups to support the army, and also just to kind of use all these raiding groups I scripted. I'm not going to script more, but it'd be nice to use some of the stuff I did script. And I think that's it for turn 96. So I'll go ahead and pull up turn 97. All right, so I've got turn 97 pulled up here. And we start getting a little bit more active. Do a couple of assassinations. Here we get our ass kicked, which is quite sad. So we've got a warrior smith, or chief, no gear, cursed. We have our elite super assassin with patience 3 because we've got the unseen sword for +2, slave collar for +1. It's a great way to try and limit the number of bodyguards that show up. And then we've got some kit on him, like a main gosh and a helmet and armor. So he's up at 23 protection. Alright, so now he's down to 5 HP. He's diseased. Lands a 13 damage hit. Blinds and feeble minds. Well, no, we had the feeble mind because of the slave collar, but blinds our guy. So now he can't hit anything. Hits him again. Hits him again. And kills him. So that was a little bit unlucky. Then we try to assassinate the idle sorcerer thing. We've got a berserker pelt on this guy to keep him in the fight. This guy's got all sorts of gems, though. And he charms the assassin. I think in this replay, I think in the... And again, I don't know what's up with these replay bugs. But in the actual fight, he ends up killing the demon bread. It could be that the launcher I'm using is maybe like out of sync or something, but versus what I saw on the server. We've got a little bit of raid game going on. Is this like a bunch of Draconians just show up and murk a Wraith Lord? Alright. So we've got the battle versus Micklin, so it turns out he was patrolling. Big Air Force battle. There we go. Yeah, so just not a lot of mage support for the Micklin army. If the player had still been playing, I'm pretty sure they would have rallied some mages. They're a good player, but they weren't playing anymore. So I think it was just patrolling for blood hunting. So we clear that out. Might as well take the throne now. And then, I guess in Three Pine Grove, we have one of our raiding groups. But it's got this Baal here, who's horror marked. But he's got all this interesting kit on him, like abominable arms. So, like, he can't hit anything with all these weapons, but, you know, it's just an inconvenience. But I think I've got him scripted to do Marble Army. Those Long Dead already have a lot of cold res. And so this like oversized raiding group from Ulm is running into just enough magic that's been given a hard time. So we end up winning that little raiding battle. Yeah. So kill an antlered shaman and a shaman. Just lose a few long dead. Let's see. Wait. I think we're down here. Okay, and then we've got the Ancient Presence battle. Now, these guys had been geared to fight Kailasa. I believe the player wasn't playing anymore. So otherwise he would have swapped out the kits for me. So he's got shock res because Kailasa was using a lot of shock damage, and he's got MR stuff for all the yogis. The chassis has a fire vulnerability 10 though, so if that's not adjusted for fighting Abysia, then it gets pretty difficult. So he's eating some of my my dudes. But we've got Firestorm. I think we've got a Heat from Hell. So hopefully we can keep them fatigued out. If they're not devouring, then they're not gaining maximum HP during the battle, which can make a pretty big deal as far as their regen goes. Because, like, this guy's up at 60. Yeah. But yeah, given that they weren't geared for me, it was reasonably easy to deal with. I thought it'd actually be a little bit tougher, but it wasn't too bad. And I probably forgot to put fire res on this Zots guy. But yeah, so yeah, it was fun to use my army to go ahead and knock out something cool, but it wasn't like geared to fight me or anything, which probably would have made it more interesting. And then looks like we've got a little bit of a battle here between Kailasa and Ulm. So this is a new army from Kailasa running into this Ulmish army. Kailasa was doing a fantastic job just printing new armies because he did lose a few of them. Let's see. Yeah, so that's it for that turn. I'm going to pull up Hinom's POV for turn 98, I think. And I'll pull that up right now. All right, and I wanted to pull up Hinom's POV to note like some of the like a late game scaling thing you can do. So Hinom gets a lot of great national long dead. And as a disciples team, we didn't really have a lot of great ways to spend death. I could spend a certain amount, but not a crazy amount. And so what we did was, or I guess what I did was I eventually transitioned Hinom into high death. And I got a bunch of these Mound Fiends to replace the like per turn reanimation. Kailasa sent me some death gems. And we set up a factory here. And one of these guys with the reanimation item can make 7 long dead per turn. And so if you get like, I don't know, like 10 of these guys, and then we've got the other guy with the mummy hat. I mean, that's a raiding party per turn. All you have to do is add in, you know, whatever mage support that you want to use to augment the little raiding party of 70 long dead. Maybe whatever other troops like Dawn Guard. You could use the Horites because they've, you know, these guys hit really hard too. They can be interesting. They've got a couple of resists. You can add in maybe like an Akka to do some stuff. You can augment it however you want, but what's cool about it is you get a raiding party per turn for free. You get the mummy to lead the long dead, and you get the, like, you know, if you have 10 of these guys set up, you get the 70 long dead. And so every turn you get a free raiding party, throw in a couple of mages, and send it off. And I think that's kind of like a low effort way to build raiding parties. There's not a whole lot of thought that you have to put into it once you set up that factory. It is expensive to set up. The mummy hat is the fire astral crosspath. That can be hard to get. It's also pretty expensive, so that's 65 gems. It can be hard to achieve like full value out of the mummy hat over the course of game. You have to get quite a few mummies. I mean, it's good for an SC2. You get +5 MR, you get +5 Awe. tons of invulnerability, fire resist, but I think the most fun part is the mummy part. And then these guys, I think, what are these, like 26 death gems a turn? 28. So 10 of those would be 280 death gems, if I move the decimal right. So, and then you've got the items. So I guess each one's 31. So for 310 death gems and maybe 65 other gems in the deep late game, you can set up a raiding party factory. And if enemies aren't killing those pretty consistently, you end up with all these different little raiding groups. And just like piles of long dead. So you can see all these different little raiding groups that we put together that are just long dead based. And you can augment them in all sorts of different ways. I have a personal preference for adding in earth mages for like golems and astral mages for immortals to try and clear those out. But definitely plenty of options. This is a more traditional raiding group. You got some draconians and some Dawn Guard. Another long dead group. Another long dead group. You can add in a few demons if you want for a little bit more killing potential. All sorts of different ways you can augment this stuff. So, and the core of it can go underwater. It can go into caves and see in the dark. So I think that's pretty fun. In terms of battles this turn, got a Rudra killing some harpies. A little bit of flames from the sky. Is this the Rudra? Wait, which one's that? Sylvania. All right. Yeah, so this guy's got a pretty bougie kit. What do you do? Leave? Oh, I think had a ring of returning. Sorry, just had to cough there. All right. Got some more, I guess, like raids. This one got clear, or oh, this one did pretty well clearing out a Wraith Lord. So you can kind of see what these groups are up to. Yeah, so we've got some water elementals added, some air elementals. All right. Let's see. This one looks a little bit closer as we just continue running into Baratus stuff. So they clear out our little long dead block, but you know, it's a lot of trolls, a lot of Dawn Guard, a few Sayer. Alright. So I forget where that was. Maybe oh, we get defeated here by the idol. Alright, we've got a Melkart in this group. This could be fun to watch. It's absolutely pouring outside, so if you hear a bunch of rain, that's why. Yeah, whole bunch of steel maidens here. Alright, we end up routing. I think that was a different battle replay as well. Because our Bale is what dies. Oh, okay, so the Bale, I think, was just passed out and got killed. A little bit more rating. We run into... They brought more Draconians, so they won that. Got like a little thug that gets killed. And then we go ahead and clear out what's in here. There's not much. Kailasa clears out what's in his fort. And so this is pretty much the technical ending, because now we're claiming both thrones. And yeah, I'll go ahead and roll over to turn 99. Okay, sorry. So I've got turn 99 pulled up. Let's see, anything new? We have a couple of golems roll out, kill some of our stuff. They've got pretty normal golem kits, so they're not like Ring of Returning or Phoenix Pyre golems or anything. Got a few battles here. 155 Draconians clears out our long dead raiding group. We clear out this little Olmish group. Kailasa army patrols. Alright. And then, and then we go ahead and claim. So we can watch the history here. Whoop, that was the wrong way to scroll. Okay, so for everyone interested, go ahead and just play this out. I wonder, I kind of want to zoom it in more, but this would cover the pan team. All right, so I'll go ahead and just play this. All right, so I wonder, oh, that's kind of cool. All right, so here we see out of the gate, Muspelheim had a very quick expansion, and they started cutting across the middle. Yeah, I think they were like right in line with Bertos. Bertos also a pretty quick expansion. They started expanding over the Maverni team's exits. And then you can see some of the back and forth. Early on, we had a lot of Ubar raids into here, and it kind of looked like Ubar might win. But the Pangaea team was very resilient. And then at some point, my one and only little army during the normal course of the game, yeah, does its death ride to Ur's capital, gets defeated. And then we have the general push from Kailasa and Hinnom into the Ur team. And I was very much on the team to try and finish this war as quickly as possible. I thought, I assumed we would get coalitioned, especially when the Bertos team finished and the Pangaea team finished. So I didn't want us getting coalitioned before we had finished out this war. And I do believe we did end up winning this one. The Statist team ends up going AI, so the Lanka team didn't feel like completely killing them off. They were also holding up well in Misery, which was kind of nice. And then we had like our push at the end. So yeah, really fun game. Let's go ahead and take a look at the graphs. So for the graphs, we've got Hinnom sneaking into first place on provinces at the very end. We got forts, income, still Kailasa, but Hinnom's income actually got into third, which is really good for Hinnom because their units spread on rest, which can be a pain to patrol out. They tend to eat a lot of population, so they can't, and blood hunt a fair amount of population, so they can't. It's hard. They need more territory to get the same amount of income, I guess. So they were number 1 in provinces, number 3 in income. You can see the effect that Dispel had on Kailasa's gym income, but Kailasa was still in first, which I thought was kind of funny. Just barely. For the blood income, we can see Lanka, I guess, tailing off. Maybe we were hitting some of the blood eco, but I scaled a fair amount of blood income, so I was pretty happy with it. It was never as big as Lanka's, but got bigger than like Baratos and Miklin. I think it's hard with the pocket style maps to have a roaring blood eco until you take over someone else's pocket, because as you're spinning up that blood economy, you're killing off your income. So you do end up kind of balancing just how much blood eco you end up wanting or using versus how much income you need for proper mage support. For research, Baratos, I think, passes Kailasa, and we're always kind of barely trailing, but we kept up pretty well. My research was abysmal, and Hinnom's was a little bit better. I had 1-9, so maybe all the players down here, I think I might have had a couple of 9s at the very end. Yeah, I might have had like 2 or 3. So this is probably like 2 or 3 9s, maybe. And then everything above that is many, many more 9s. Kailasa might have been almost done with research, being way up there. And then for Dominion, we spent a lot of time trying to push Dominion. We were blood sacking, so that's not horribly surprising. For army size, we've got Merverni shooting up ahead, so they finish well in first. Followed by Lanka, and then Kailasa, Hinnom, Abysia. My team going 3rd, 4th, and 5th on army size. And then, yeah, so I think someone's drilling downstairs, but that's fine. Let's see. So yeah, it was a really fun game. got a little bit of feedback. I think if I were to redo this, because some of the globals can be really hard to react to, um, for this game at least, I wanted to leave in all the globals because I wanted the game to end. But if the goal is just like a big mosh pit that people can run armies into, then I think if I do another iteration where it's just really casual and people are throwing armies around, I think what I'd do in a future iteration is I would knock out I'd do some sort of custom mod, get rid of all of the game-winning globals, and then people can just like manage their resources and mosh pit around. And in some ways, like blood would have an advantage for a fair length of time, and then it would start falling off as you blood hunt a lot of population. So that could be interesting. Um, but yeah, and then maybe people wouldn't feel like quite so despondent about not being able to properly react to globals. Because realistically, the way this map is designed, you can really only fight maybe 3 teams, and not even for a long amount of time. If they had perfect coordination, 3 teams could invade a single team by each giving themselves a lane, like a 1 province lane to attack through. In practice, though, that's not really practical. Probably the coalition would break down as they started pushing around here, and then it would maybe, which is kind of the idea behind it, is coalitions would be highly likely to break down as teams kind of like encroached. So could try something like that. Could also try having more connections and maybe a little bit more mobility in those connections. So if I was able to like draw in the little portals, I could do like little portal lines, and maybe like one of them could go down here, and then like, or maybe more of the portals could go to the middle of the map without getting players completely lost. And then we could have like more of a mosh pit type of thing going on where other teams can't really invade too easily, I think. I'm not sure. Um, Another thing I was kind of wondering about was maybe if Illwinter ever added like a mod command to just allow travel one direction on a connection, like a unidirectional connection, you could try to make some of these like weirder game modes work. So you could do one-way teleporters. And then you could never actually kill a team. You could just like butt up against them, and then you'd have to fight everything that came out. And that I think would be interesting, because then no one would die. They could just keep rolling stuff out here. And I think that would be pretty fun, potentially, because then it would be just like a true mosh pit. And I'd feel a little bit safer, trying to get teams not coalition, because the whole point of this was not to have coalitions. Well, that was a big part of it, and then also like the mosh pit, like the King of the Hill aspect. And with one-way connections, I could have more of the connections maybe kind of go towards the middle, so more teams could fight different teams. And so you could do maybe like a ring in the middle where everyone kind of lands at different points. So for instance, my team, we could have a connection that kind of goes in between the team and the Vanheim team, a connection that goes between the Bertos team and the Marverni team, and maybe a connection, maybe 2 more connections if it were a ring, where you've got between Ulm and Ubar or something, or we just have a connection that comes out between us and Pan, and another one between Lanka and Tianchi. And you could spread out a lot of these connections, and people could fight all sorts of different teams depending on where they go. And that could be fun. And then you could do like a no diplo thing, and then it's just people romping armies around, which I think is pretty fun. Could certainly do something like that. Could try to give like maybe a few gold mines in each of the home bases. Some people were saying that it was too many provinces in the home bases, but I think if you have just like your 20-ish provinces, it's really hard to properly scale off 20 provinces going into the late game to like build interesting armies. So I don't know if I could do like maybe events or something giving more gold mines to people. Maybe that would be interesting. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think it was pretty fun. I think the ending, it came maybe like 20 turns earlier than what I wanted. I do think my team would have won, but it would have been a lot harder. We were going through the like wearing down enemy armies phase, so we had just worn down the big Baratos army. We needed to try and work down the big Pangaea army. I guess there's a big Tianchi army on the way. So we had some stuff to do, but like I was starting to get rolling. I think I got like I think I had like 600 something troops in here. So I probably could have started putting out an army every like few turns with a fair number of burning ones. Probably not with the like some of the probably would have been more national path mage focused. Maybe not as many like vine ogres or whatever and sea kings as what was in this army, but you know, it would have been a pretty significant little army. And then we had Kailasa printing stuff. Although at the end, we didn't bother trying to retake the globals because the game was over, but and then we had like the big Hinnom Doom stack, a whole bunch of Hinnom raiding groups. Probably could have put together a new army for Hinnom at some point, like reasonably soon. With Thetis Blessing getting knocked down, we had to like a Melkart drown. And we would have, I would have had to like gear them to like get stuff over here. Might have been good to even get Kailasa to do another gateway to the Nexus on this throne. That way, because what I could do is I could send a Melkart through this throne, or through this Nexus, or through the Abysia one. We probably could have also added one here to this one, and that could have been like Hinnom's way to get to that fort, because we didn't have to worry about eating population here. It's only got 3k. But yeah, I think this game was a lot of fun. We did have a lot of players get worn out. There was a lot of subs. The game almost got canceled like at launch. So I'm glad we were able to get it together because we had, I think, 2 or 3 teams back out right as the game was starting. And so, yeah, I think it ended up being a pretty fun game. I feel like I've used a lot of my Dominions luck on this game and my Pangaea game. So probably got some of that luck back through the Nagron game. But yeah, having steel ovens in your cap circle is certainly lucky. Getting the exact throne we needed to be able to do our Ngiri spam plan was also really lucky. We would have been able to do it through the Amber Clan, but it wouldn't have been as efficient. And then the Diplo situation kind of worked out. The Baratos team for this particular map iteration that I made ended up spawning away. I think 1 or 2 of the other times where I like almost hit go and then somebody found like a problem with the map or something was I think we were neighboring them, and that would have been a really tough war. Let's see. The Ubar Pan War was really interesting to watch. I got some good opportunities to chat with the Pangaea player. I think maybe the Ulm player. I forget exactly who, about different strategies you could do to protect your golems um, from Smasher thugs teleporting in. So like stealthing items, like stealth items to stealth them away. You could do like Ring of Returning golems, which I don't think we talked too much about that, but that would be another potential option. Could also do maybe even like Phoenix Pyre golems, but I think that's a little bit trickier against the if it's an Efreet Sultan Smasher thug like we saw, to like actually try and win that. But yeah, I mean there was a lot of big fun battles. We saw really cool battles between Marverni and the Vanheim team. Giant boar armies. He rolled out so many mages. It was really fun to see. I think a few of those armies had like 90 to 100 mages. So that was really fun to see. I enjoyed watching those battles when I caught them. Our scouts had a tendency to get patrolled out. I really liked Zabalba's um, like big efforts. He made so many large armies with so many Aussies. It was pretty fun to see. He did a lot of magic phase stuff. Gave us some trouble in a war where we clearly had an advantage because we had all these magic weapons. We had our own Seer. We had lots of sacreds. We had a big global advantage. So they were at a huge resource disadvantage, and Zabalba put up a hell of a fight. Really enjoyed seeing that. I liked seeing Muspelheim's give no fucks attitude, just charging across the map and fighting the TNN team. That was kind of fun to see. And it cost them in their war against the Baratos team, but it was really entertaining. Enjoyed watching that. So, yeah, I think we had a lot of fun battles. Hopefully, it allowed some players to kind of like safely experiment with late game. Hopefully, you got to see some factions that normally don't make it to the late game. I know there's a lot of monkey players out there in the Dominions community, but I'm not gonna lie, I rarely see monkey nations hit late game. They get coalitioned or killed so frequently in my games. So that was really fun to see a late game Kailasa. Baratos tends to be rush bait. We got to see a late game Baratos and a really fun army put together by War PC. I enjoy seeing the armies he puts together. So had a lot of fun. Probably be a bit before I try and host another one. Getting a little burned out because I had, I think, 2 or 3 big late games all going at the same time. So might take a little bit of a breather before hopping back into new games, although I am in a game as EA Atlantis. But we'll see if anything major happens with that. It's only in the early game. So, yeah, had a lot of fun with this one. And I will see you guys in the next one. And hopefully we start getting some more map designs and Dominions. The FFA concept is a lot of fun. I still enjoy playing that a lot. We got like the map nuke grid system. We've got the map atlas, the thing Tlalic's been working on, which is more like home regions that are spherical, and then it kind of fills in provinces around that. That's really cool. It's not quite as grid-like, so you get a little bit more variety. But I think it would be good if we started getting some new like map designs, and maybe like if we got more mod support, or I don't know. I can't really talk about mod support because I don't make mods, but if maybe, and I don't even know if it exists, but if there's like stuff for like one-way connections or triggers for certain connections. That would be really fun. Sorry about that. I finally decided to go get some water because I've been talking for an hour. Okay. But yeah, like maybe like triggered connections, one-way connections, uh, like map. I know there's event triggers that can lead to other events, but it seems like maybe they're not the easiest to work with. An updated list of mod commands and what they did would be phenomenal. I'm not sure if there's a complete list out there at all. I think mod makers just have like little communities and maybe their own documentation. But yeah, like, because I remember playing Warcraft 3 a long time ago, and that game had so many mods. And Dominions is a very mod friendly game. So I think you could certainly get a lot of interesting new concepts. Some other concepts I was thinking of was maybe you could set up a map where, again, it'd be like islands, but you could set up something where maybe it's like 1v1s. Everyone gets like a 1v1 assigned partner. And then maybe on like turn 30 or 40, new connections open up between the 1v1 island to a different 1v1 island, so the champion could fight the champion from the other one. And or if they're both still fighting, then I guess they could just come in and clean up and end their 1v1. And you can end up with kind of like a bracket style thing where the winner from each bracket gets to like fight the winner from the other bracket, and they kind of invade each other, and it builds up to maybe like a 1v1 for a cross bracket. And I think that would be kind of cool. That'd be interesting to do for, I think maybe 16 might be a lot for that, but maybe like 8-player, like little bracket tournaments, that could be a lot of fun. So I don't know. I've had a fair amount of little map ideas, but it can be difficult to create the maps for them. The editor is kind of buggy and a little bit glitchy sometimes. It'll make random connections like what you saw like in Moo's game that he's casting. He tried to do some map edits and he ended up with crazy long connections going to basically nowhere. Those are really easy to end up with if you're not being extremely careful. The controls could be a little bit better. If you import stuff from like third-party tools like MapNuke into the map editor, a lot of stuff gets cleared out and reorganized in terms of the map file. And that can cause a lot of issues. That caused me a lot of issues in this one. Terrain types, like a new terrain type, maybe because the cave wall kind of works. But there's issues with cave walls. Like some rituals will still count the cave wall as being a province. So it'd be great if there was a province type that was just like, this is not a province, and connections weren't counted, and stuff couldn't move through it, and globals couldn't affect it. That'd be really nice, especially something that maybe looked nice. The cave walls look pretty nice in caves, but there's nothing for like overland stuff, where it's maybe like impassable sea or something. I don't know. Or like, or you could just call it like Dead Sea. It's just like salt water. No living thing can go there. I don't know. And it's just impassable. I don't know. Just like a few more tools, because I think the hardest thing for hosting games, even just normal games right now, is just how difficult it is to get maps for those games. Especially with like certain starts, like making sure Baratos has a wasteland so they can actually play the game. Because they tend to get the coastal start, but getting a wasteland for them for all their summons can be extremely random. Or maybe like it's another one, I guess. Certain caps not pop killing themselves, so like friendly or terrain types, uh, cave nations, especially like Zabalba with their blood hunting. Seems like they have to blood hunt the surface world now because of the cave population nerf. Granted, caves were kind of too strong before, but I wonder if the way to fix that was maybe like an income nerf rather than a population nerf. Another thing is I don't think on Map Nuke you can add caves to the surface area. So like say I wanted to do this but without the cave layer, there's not really a way for me to do that. All the map generation just assumes you want a cave layer. And I think for more competitive play, they'd rather have the no cave layer and just have cave provinces. Maybe like more of the cap circle as caves to like make that nation a little bit stronger, but the cave layer is a little bit warping on a grid style map because then you end up with a big empty square above you on the surface that people can just invade. And or you're kind of like cutting the legs out from under the cave nation in terms of like a vanilla balancing sense because they only get the one cave province because you're using like a terrain cap mod or terrain, yeah, capital mod. But yeah, so it's just, I think there's a fair number of pain points on the map making side of things that where there could be a lot of room for improvement. I still need to try the map atlas stuff a little bit more. I think that'll be pretty good just for normal games. Maybe replacing Map Nuke a little bit. Um, but there's a fair number of settings for that I haven't like played with or explored. But in terms of like putting together like a fair map, like editing out a map where you only have like 60 provinces for each team on like different little islands, like the old Warcraft style maps. It definitely takes a lot of time to put stuff like that together. If I do another one, I probably won't do a cave layer, where it'll be a standardized cave layer. And that way, if I put it up on the Steam Workshop, then other people could play games with it just using like the capital terrain mod. And that would make it a little bit more flexible if you wanted to use it for early game, mid game, or early age, middle age, or late age in different nations. I wouldn't have the hard coded spawns. Could do something with, I think it was also suggested to use smaller teams. So we could do like 2-man teams, and maybe that would be easier to build a map around. A lot of different ideas. So, but unfortunately, I only have so much time. So it'll probably be a while before I can do like a high effort game host like this one. But I hope everyone had fun, within reason. Um, I know sometimes it can be tricky working with teams if some players are wanting to put in more effort than others, stuff like that. Uh, some teams can get demoralized, especially when it's clear you're losing, but you have to wait for them to take like 40 more provinces off of you, stuff like that. But I think on the whole, it was a pretty fun game. I think a lot of the players had fun. At least I hope. No one got coalitioned, which was pretty cool in like a serious way. Like no team got invaded by two other teams. So I think that part of the map design worked really well. So yeah, I think it kind of worked out pretty well. And we'll see when I get time to like host something like this in the future. And I will see you guys in the next one. I'll stop rambling. Have a good one. Bye.